We are brought to you by our friends at Ameristar Casino. Monday edition of the program, Chris Landry on your radio. Chris, I want to go back to college. I just want to get that Trevor Lawrence thought in there before I forgot about that. When you go into a program, let's just jump to the Big Ten. We were talking about programs like Auburn and Kentucky. We've talked to you about South Carolina. What about somebody like Iowa that plays really, really good defense? They have kind of maybe benefited from playing in that division in the Big Ten that has obviously Wisconsin and Minnesota, and Nebraska and some of those teams. Now you interject the Oregons and Washingtons and USCs and UCLA. Can Iowa sustain some of the success that they've had? Because they have had several 10-win seasons where they've had no offense, played for the Big Ten championship, obviously got dust rolled in that championship. Can they maybe sustain that success, or do they go the way that Kentucky might go?
I think even further down than what Kentucky has been. I mean, because I think that while Kentucky's benefited from being in the East, I mean, at least the East has had Georgia. Well, the West has not had. I mean, Wisconsin had their run because the West was pretty soft. Iowa's had their moments because the West is pretty soft. We've seen Northwestern, not recently, but win the West because the best team in the West of the Big Ten is, I don't want to say mediocre, but just good team, nothing special. Whereas the top two and usually the top three, sometimes the top four teams in that conference are from the East. I think Iowa's going to have a problem. I mean, I think they're going to be bowl caliber, but winning 10 games is going to be very difficult. I think you're going to see with Oregon, Washington, USC in particular, but even UCLA, depending on how much speed they continue to get and acquire, how things are going to change there and potentially make it more difficult for the Iowas and the Wisconsins and, quite frankly, everybody in the Big Ten West, or what we refer to as Big Ten West teams in the past. I think those teams all get knocked down a peg. In fact, if you didn't add those four teams and you just threw all the old Big Ten teams in, think about it. Usually the best team in the West is at best the third best team in the conference, usually the fourth best.